At Sierra, discover top workout gear at incredible prices, which might lead to another discovery. Your headphones haven't been connected this whole time. Awkward. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
Your data is like gold to hackers. They'll sell it to the highest bidder. Are you protected? McAfee helps shield you, blocking suspicious texts, malicious emails, and fraudulent websites. McAfee Secure VPN lets you browse safely, and its AI-powered text scam detector spots threats instantly. You'll also get up to $2 million of award-winning antivirus and identity theft protection, all for just $39.99 for your first year. Visit McAfee.com. Cancel anytime. Terms apply.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check the Jumbotron first, before attempting to eat a stack of Supreme nachos in one bite. Now you're just a meme that everyone shares on game day. Checking first is smart, so check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Hello there and welcome to a very triumphant 1865 Nottingham Forest podcast, and we're recording this just a couple of days after Forest women's team have celebrated getting some silverware. For the second time in 3 years, they've won the Women's National League Cup final, beating Stoke City 3-1 at the Bescot Stadium on Sunday. And Adam, you were there. Firstly, just tell us about the occasion. Tell us how it felt. The celebrations were jubilant. A great weekend, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a really, really good day out. I think that's the way to put it. There was loads of Forest fans, loads of Stoke fans. We had probably, the attendance was, I think, 1,700, which is, it's really good. The atmosphere was really good inside the ground. The Forest fans were loud, singing the whole game. It was a really, really good day. And, the result makes it even better, of course. And the post-match celebrations were great. Honestly, me and my dad went and we both really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I think it's also fair to say, and we're a little bit biased on this one, I think it's fair to say that Forest fans totally outsung the Stoke fans all the way through as well, didn't they? Made loads of noise. Yeah,
for sure. I didn't hear a peep from them until they scored. And then when, and the thing is with their goal as well, the goal came completely out of nowhere. So it was definitely a burst of, they're still there. How you say it you say it in the ground, you're like, I forgot you were there and stuff. This was a genuine, just there they are. They're over there. It was one of them.
Yeah, and I think that's, obviously the scoreline reflects that Forest were the better team. Let's start off with talking about the team news, though. So this time last week, we were predicting what we thought the lineup was going to be, and you triumphantly sent a message to our group chat to say, yep, Sophie Domingo's playing. But talk us through the rest of the team.
Yeah, there was I don't think there's many surprises. I think Millie Chindara keeping her place was purely the energy she brings. I think Sophie coming into the side is because she can run at Stoke, and I think that was definitely the plan. And I think because the way that Stoke they played like this at the City Ground as well, but at the City Ground they had less success with it. They play the high press. So when they play that high press, you want someone like Sophie Domingo because she's quick and she can get in behind. So I think that was the plan really. When they press, they're going to leave some gaps. When they leave those gaps, it's for Sophie to run into. You also had Charlie Wellings kind of playing as the right winger with Mel Johnson down the middle. I think again the theory for that was if Mel Johnson's marked out of the game, you're going to give space to both the wingers as well. So no, look, it worked. It worked really, really well. I think that, like I say, the back five was no shock. It was what we expected. And yeah, I think Sophie came in and did a really good job at stretching the Stoke defence, which I think is what she was there for.
So run us through it for people who may not have seen the match. It was on iPlayer, and of course the highlights are on YouTube. But for anyone who might not have seen the match as yet, just run us through from 1 to 11. So start off in goal and the defence.
Yeah, so like I say, no real surprises with the 11 itself. Obviously, you've got Emily Batty in goal, who has been... The thing is, it's easy to say that she's that she's not had a lot to do, but when she has had something to do, I think you proved in this game she did play really well. Obviously, you have Lindsay Harkin, the captain. I thought she was really good on the day. She was very calm and she was a controlling presence on the ball. Nat Johnson, friend of the show, of course. Again, a mainstay in that defence with Kate Longhurst as well. The thing is with that defence, I think is what they've gone for is alongside Molly Green being the younger aspect, you've got a lot more of an experienced backline there. And I think that's telling to why we are where we are, because you've got that experience. Then you go into sort of midfield, you add Holding, Millie Chandara. Again, you're holding players that I think, the thing with Oldham is that she can transition into a 6, 8 or a 10. To have that kind of flexibility is great, because you've got Freya Thomas was the holding sort of 6 player with Chandara and Oldham in front. I think that did work. I think that Oldham kind of struggled a little bit to get into the game at times, kind of affect the game the way that she would have wanted to. But I get the idea of the 3 having a 6, an energetic midfielder in Chandara, and then having a sort of 8/10 in Oldham to sort of get forward and come back in transition. And then obviously you had Mel, Wellings and Domingo as your 3. Again, I think that works really well. With Mel, you've got a seasoned pro, championship goal scorer in years gone by, someone that you can put the ball up to, she'll hold it up and she'll get the wingers into play. Charlie Wellings, who was outstanding on the day. I think there must have been a plan. I will talk about it later with her substitution, because the way she came off, she was quite happy. And then obviously Sophie Domingo, someone we talked about a lot of pace, a lot of raw energy into the side, and I do think that's what she brought. I don't think she had her best game against Stoke. I think that they marked her out the game quite well. But when you've got a front 3 where you're allowing one of them to peel off the striker, that one became Charlie Wellings instead of Sophie Domingo, so she kind of got looked at that way. But I suppose that's kind of going to happen in this system.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds, obviously we quite often make parallels with the men's team, so both in terms of kind of switching between a 3 and a 4 at the back, but also thinking about the recent changes we've seen with Anthony Elanga, sometimes playing in a free role, sometimes playing on the right wing, sometimes playing on the left wing, to allow Hudson-Odoi to do other things as well, whether that be to help out his fullback or to have more of an impact going forward. And I think maybe that's one of those parallels, isn't it? Sometimes one of the wide players kind of almost, or one of the forward players almost takes a secondary role, so to allow the others to have that space to move into. And we saw it to great effect, didn't we? Especially, I mean, so it's worth pointing out that I think Sophie had the first kind of thing you'd call a half chance, didn't she? Where Charlie teed her up, but it was off target. But if we move forward not very far, you can see that shape and that movement really paid off, particularly with that first goal, where it was a goal kick from Stoke, intercepted by Nat Johnson, who won it in the air, went down to Millie, played onwards to Mel Johnson, who flicked it around the corner, and then Charlie with a real striker's finish is a real well worked, and again shows the benefit of that kind of that extra space, that extra movement, the extra freedom.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that the goal sums up exactly what Mel Johnson is in. So when you've got those 2 wingers, that goal epitomises what they were trying to do, the flick round the corner to Charlie. And obviously in the ground, we see the goal, and it looked like she was closer to the goal than she was. And I was like, oh, that's a really good finish. But then when I saw the goal back, I was like, actually, she was a little bit further out than I thought. And she's absolutely just rolled that into the far corner. The keeper's got absolutely no chance to get anywhere near that. And look, I think at this point, it's what we expect from Charlie Wellings. That's what she does. She's clinical in and around the box. You give her a chance and she's going to score. And I think it's fair to say before the goal, it was a very cagey affair. It was very much a feeling out process, if you like. And Stoke, to be fair to them, they were giving Forest a game. They had a few half chances themselves, and the goal came at very much a relief point of view from the Forest perspective.
Yeah, and I think it's one. Well, it's not a big surprise, is it, to know that a game against Stoke needs a goal to get it going? And we didn't have to wait too long before the next one came along. Now, I'm not going to talk through this. I'd like you to talk me through how you saw it and how you experienced it in the ground, because it was quite special, I thought.
it's a player that's got bags and bags of confidence. You know what I mean? The goals that Charlie's been scoring all season, you think she can score from anywhere and it doesn't shock you. The way she went up for that shot, the second it left her boot because obviously we're on the side of the pitch. So the kind of view I would say is that we were behind it in a way. The way that she comes across it from the angle, we were sort of behind it. And the second it left her boot, you were like, well, that's flying in. I don't see any. The goalkeeper's not getting near that. She just hit it so well. I think that's the main thing. There was a bit of criticism I saw about the goalie. I think it was a little bit unfair. I think she hit it so well that it definitely caught the goalie off guard. I don't think she expected her to hit it. I think if you're doing your homework on Charlie Wellings, you probably should expect that she will just have a shot from anywhere if there's an opportunity. But yeah, no, it flew like a missile, and it was a really, really good finish. And like you say, it's just what she does. You get to the point with players where you just say it's what she does.
And I mean, the thing that's struck me, again, you sort of watch it back on YouTube and you kind of think, well, she comes in from the right-hand side where the ball, Stoke kind of, it's a loose ball, Charlie gets it, comes in from the right-hand touchline and advances forward a good sort of 20 yards. But the angle from which she has the shot to shoot with her right foot and the way that she swings her leg at it, you're just not expecting the ball to go at the trajectory it does. It's a shot with loads and loads of precision. Yeah, the keeper it's in her near post, so she probably will feel that she should do better. But once it leaves the boot, I agree with you, there's probably not a huge amount the keeper can do, even though she does get a hand to it. All she's able to do is help it into the net. And 2 goals in quick succession. What was the mood like in the Forest end?
I mean, at that point, like I say, the singing was from minute 1, but at that point it was bounced in the Forest end. There was chants about the players. There was just chants you hear at the men's games as well, like Forest the Magic and all that sort of stuff. And it was honestly really loud, and it was great to hear that passionate support from the Forest fans in the ground. So it was a really, really good mood at that point. And I would say that there was some people around us that were maybe had their party hats on at 2-0, which, well, obviously, with Forest against Stoke, that's not it's never a given, is it?
Let's not go there again. We shut down that conversation last week.
So I was sat there and I said to my dad, I was like, look, let's just keep it calm, right? 2-0 at half time. Let's get it into the break and let's go from there. But there was a lot of partying around us, I will say.
Yeah, and of course, I think part of that is naturally, you do get a slightly different crowd at the women's games, don't you? It's more of a family atmosphere, so a mix of men, women, children, different age ranges. But I think it's fair to say that the atmosphere is maybe, shall we say, slightly less aggressive than it can get at the first team men's matches. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that the atmosphere is at the City Ground I describe it as not bad. I think that when we score, it's still loud and stuff. There's a little bit of singing, but this was something else. There was definitely a lot more atmosphere here, and I think with the women's games, getting the atmosphere, it's all about just having the right people in the ground. But like you say, it's not aggressive. I mean, there were Stoke fans that were in our block as well. I'm sure they really enjoyed their day, but. No, it's a lovely atmosphere, and I think if what I would say about the women's game is that if you've got a young child potentially, and you want to get them into football, but with kids you don't know how long their interests are going to last, and you want to get them down to watch a football game live, I would take them to a Forest women's game. It's a lovely atmosphere. You get to see your team playing well most of the time, but it gets them into it without sort of taking them to the blood and guts of the men's game that it can be, and we know it can be. So, no, it was good.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see if we can get, for listeners who've been following us throughout this season, we'll see if we can get Matt and his son Leaf onto the show again at some point, because I think Leaf's really been enjoying going to these matches as a young boy learning to love the game. So it's been a great gateway. Anyway, at half time, those Forest fans were jubilant and the Reds went in 2-0 ahead.
Eczema isn't always obvious, but it's real. And so is the relief from Evglis. After an initial dosing phase of 16 weeks, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Searching for real relief? Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
You're listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast.
Welcome back to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast, and our women's show with me, Rich Ferraro, and him, Adam. And Adam, you always say, you know, the old cliche, 2-0 up is a dangerous scoreline, and it's because a 2-0 game, the mood can change just like that. And it changed when Stoke made a substitution, and straight away, you know, that substitute came in and made all of the difference. So they brought on their substitute, Wilcock. They'd already challenged, hadn't they? So I think I'm skipping ahead a little bit. So there's a couple of things that I think are important. So Bracewell in the Stoke goal had made a save from Sophie Domingo. We'd had the first couple of substitutions that you'd alluded to. So Charlie Wellings and Millie made way, and Cara Hamilton and Holly Manders came on. And then Emily did have to make a good stop as well from a close range effort. But then they got back in the game. Wilcock had literally just come on, and straight away they just lofted a high ball into the area. Wilcock kind of, maybe it's that thing of a new player, no one's quite sure about how to deal with her, but is a good header into the far corner of the net. What did that do to the atmosphere and to the confidence levels amongst the fans and the players?
It was a weird one because, I mean, Stoke had that long ball, but whenever they got a free kick from anywhere around the halfway line, they went for the long ball, which is very Stoke-like. You know, we're used to that, aren't we? But I'm sorry, I just looked at the Stoke team and I was trying to remember who it was that was pinging them long balls over. It was the centre half, and I can't remember her name, so apologies to her. But every time,
number 26, though, yeah.
26 would be Sooty?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so every time her long ball was fantastic. The loft that she got on it, the angle of which she was hitting it, was causing problems every single time they did it, because they had probably about 3 or 4 of them in the second half where it was just, right, we're on the halfway line, we're struggling to create a lot from open play, so we're just going to literally ping it up in the box to see what happens. And that's exactly what happened here. And to be fair to the Stoke player, Tamara Wilcock, that's it. It was a great header. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's in goal, you're not stopping that. It loops it right into the far corner. It lands in the far corner. And
proper aggressive header, isn't it? It's like she really comes in, attacks the ball, gets her neck muscles on it, and you're absolutely right. No keeper stopping that.
No, and it was a really, really good header for her, and it was the first touch of the game for her, which is it's crazy, isn't it? And she actually had a few later in the game as well, which had a couple of headers as well. So she was a threat. She came on and she was a threat from those big long crossfield passes. But look, it did change the game, and this is the thing. Forest was so in control and, you know, just knocking the ball around. You know, as you've seen Forest do a lot, when Forest are in possession and when they're in control, they will knock the ball around and you will struggle to get it off them. The issue is from Stoke, and I want to shout out Cole for Stoke. She was such a high pressing player. She was right up in their face all game, and they had a lot of issues with that. They nearly got caught out a couple of times from the back, just losing it. It was a couple of instances in this game where they nearly got the ball nicked off them. So when Stoke scored, it put a rocket up them, and they continued then at that point to they brought a couple of subs, and the subs came in and just stayed with the same thing: high press, high press, high press. And we were struggling, and we looked rattled. The goals seemed to affect how we were playing. So it had a massive impact on the game. Massive.
So how did Forest find ways to cope with that?
What we did really well, I think this is what we talked about earlier, and it was the goal from the start of the game was when they pressed to find the space in behind. They were pressing even higher with more players. So at the start of the game, it was just their front two, front three that were pressing. Now it was, a couple of the midfielders chucked in as well, and their captain Kivell, who was really good on the day as well. Definitely shout out to her. I think she was excellent. Were pressing a bit higher up, almost as a wing back. So that then caused a lot of space in behind, and we had a lot of chances where we could have had a few more goals. And then, of course, we did have the goal, which really, really settled the game down again. Obviously, I know we'll come on to it, but the break from midfield and the slotting the ball into Mel. And look, Mel Johnson being the goal scorer she is, being someone that has been the top goal scorer in the league above the one we're playing in, she's going to do that. She gets half a chance, she lifts it into the roof of the net, keeper can't stop it. At that point, it was then relaxed a lot more.
Yeah, so I mean, we might as well talk about the goal as you've mentioned it. So Sophie Domingo played in Cara Hamilton. In a way, it reminds me ever so slightly, for people who are old enough, of the Euro '96 goal Alan Shearer scored, in the sense of the ball comes across. Cara could have had a shot, but actually she lays it off to Mel Johnson, who then shoots from an acute angle, cuts across the ball so it goes in at the top near corner. Again, as with Charlie's first goal in particular, real striker's finish, and really Mel showing a pedigree, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what she does. I mean, she's been around for a long time. She scored a lot of goals. That's what she does. Shout out for Cara Hamilton, by the way. I think she was a little bit unlucky to miss out on the starting 11. Just with the system we played, she did at the start of the season, but then the last sort of couple of games, she doesn't really fit the system in that sense. But I probably shouldn't have favourites, but she's definitely one of my favourite players. She's just got so much energy, and she gets proper stuck into it. She's a really old-fashioned sort of fullback, wingback, where she'll get stuck into a challenge. And I thought she played really well when she came on, and like I say, unselfish thing to lay into Mel. But look, Mel Johnson's going to be invaluable to this team, and fingers crossed at this point we do get promoted again. I'm not saying anything until we're promoted. I'm not tempting any fate. But I think she'll be invaluable on the next level because she's done that and been there before.
Yeah, and obviously something we've talked about many, many times. This is not just a team for this season. If all goes well, then there's several players in there. The good core of the team, I would say, will be able to do an absolutely fabulous job at the level above. Now, as we got further on, I mean, third goal kind of kills the game in reality. We saw a couple of late changes, so Amy Sims and Jess Hennessy came on. And that was really to see things out, wasn't it?
Yeah, especially Jess Hennessy being, as much of a presence as she is at the back. Like that was certainly to combat the big long ball they were playing, because it did cause a few issues. But honestly, after the third goal going in, their heads dipped a little bit. Their energy levels dropped a bit, and it was fairly smooth sailing to the final whistle at that point.
Yeah, just a quick word, because there were 4 minutes of stoppage time. It ended up being a bit more because Emily Batty picked up a bit of a knock, and you were a little bit again, you put it in the group chats like, is anyone watching on telly? Does anyone know what happened to Emily? She was okay, but a little worry, wasn't it, when the trainer has to come on and treat the goalkeeper for a little while?
Yeah, of course it is. And I think there was a lot of concern around us in the ground, thinking because as much as this competition and this trophy is massive. I mean, it's silverware, and the main goal has to be getting the team promoted. And what you don't want to happen the last couple of games is your starting goalkeeper getting injured. So, no, glad that she was okay. I'll be honest. I think a bit more added time was added on than it would, but it was one of those things. It didn't really matter. It didn't really make much of a difference. And the final whistle when everything was okay. But no, I was concerned, and it was difficult. This was actually really nice because the game was on BBC iPlayer. Everyone in our group chat pretty much everyone in our group chat was watching it, so I could put a message in the chat like, "What happened there?" I couldn't see it, and I could get an answer back, which I can't normally do with the women's game. So no, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, and then as you mentioned, the final whistle. I mean, as ever, it's always good to win a final. It's always good to get that bit of silverware, and the team were suitably delighted. It took a long time to get to the lifting of the trophy. There was a lot of milling around and that music playing over and over again, which must have been driving you all absolutely potty in the ground. But the team did get their chance to get their winners' medals, to lift the trophy. And I heard something which was seemed quite apposite in the commentary on iPlayer, which was describing Lindsay Harkin as being, she's experienced. She's, you and I have discussed about how she's basically Ms. Forrest, isn't she? If Ryan Yates is Mr. Forrest, then Lindsay's the equivalent for the women's team. But also about how she's a bit of a mother hen to the other players, and you could really see that respect in terms of when Lindsay went up to get the trophy and her medals, and when they were doing the ceremonial trophy lifts. They were really enjoying it, but you could just see that absolute respect that everyone has for Lindsay as the main woman.
Yeah, she is, and she is so well respected, but for good reason. Like you say, she's probably Miss Forest, and she's been here a long time, and she's helped a lot of the younger players on. Like obviously Molly Green, I know she's probably she's 26, 27. She's not like 19, 20, but she's helped her on a lot of the women that aren't starting games, that are a bit younger and stuff, that may take her place one day. She definitely helps, and she talks a lot on the pitch. I think it's something that you don't see necessarily on TV, or maybe she go to a game, but like she talks a lot. She's so vocal with the team. Like she's shouting to people where to be, positionally and all that sort of stuff. And I think she's just an absolute credit to this team. And to have her as our captain is great. I hope that she's here next season. I hope she wants to carry on next year. That would be fantastic for us. But we'll see. I think it's one of them, isn't it? Like I'm sure she will carry on, but all the conversations, they go on, don't they? And we'll see what happens. But she's invaluable, absolutely invaluable.
Mm-hmm. And a word for Carly, the head coach who's masterminded this victory and is masterminding another charge towards the top of the league. Unlike 3 years ago, if we finish top, at least we know we're going to get that promotion spot. So obviously that was a big disappointment the previous time out. So a word for Carly Davies. Yeah,
look, she's an absolutely outstanding manager. I don't think just at this level. I think that she will be an outstanding manager for years and years to come. And I hope that she's the woman in charge when we're in WSL. That'd be exactly what we all want. I can actually tell you a little slight tidbit. We were at the end. We were stood at the front, and if you look at some of the pictures, you'll see, right? But we were stood next to Carly's sister and her family. So she came over, obviously, to them, and I give her like a bit of a well done gaffer and stuff. But she's so lovely, and she's so nice to talk to and stuff as well. And she's a shining example and a credit to the city of Nottingham and the team in a similar sort of way that I feel like Nuno is for the men's team. I think he's a credit to the city, and I think that Carly's exactly the same.
Importing managers from the West Midlands seems to be working out for both teams, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, where would you like to finish with this one, Adam? Obviously, it's back to league action fairly soon. So I'm guessing, just as with any team, it's a case of enjoy the moment, celebrate the achievement, but then it's going to be a case of knuckle down and getting back to action before you know it, isn't it? So with that in mind, I think if we have a think about what's coming up, then the next match is only 5 days away, and it's against Hull City at the City Ground. And then following that, a couple of weeks after that, Liverpool Feds, which is away, Stourbridge the week after that, again away, and then West Brom at the City Ground at the end of April to round off the season. So, it's really kind of crunch time now, isn't it?
It is, and this can be the hard thing, can't it, about winning a trophy before the end of the season. And I'm sure Newcastle will experience this feeling as well, that you've got to get back down to business. It's like, it's great, it's positive and all this sort of stuff, but you've just got to crack on again. You're looking at the table at the minute, and of course, this is a caveat to say that we have played one game less than Wolves, but Wolves is only 2 points behind us. This is not wrapped up. This is not sealed, right? As much as we want to say, it is, isn't it? We're going to win the league at this point. It only takes, dropping points somewhere to not win the league. And I don't want to be, that's not me being negative. This is a team that hasn't lost in the league this year, but dropping points is drawing games at this point. That's the level.
Yeah.
That's the level we're at. Wolves have lost once this season. That was to us, right? So you can't expect them to drop points. So you've got to be perfect. I think the only positives I'm going to say is that Hull are 9th. They're a bit further down the table. Liverpool Feds are mid-table. Stourbridge are 11th on 5 points. And then you've got West Brom at home who are mid-table as well. So I'm not saying that it's kind to you, but you do have fixtures that you favour yourself in. You probably favour yourself in every game, don't get me wrong, but especially so. So, look, you just got to be, next 4 games have got to be wins. That gets you promotion. So I will say this, on the 30th, on Hull at home, it is Mother's Day. So why not take your mum to the Forest game? I took my mum to the Forest game against Wolves a couple of weeks ago, and she really enjoyed it. So, I'd say that maybe if you're struggling of plans to do for Mother's Day, all the carveries are full, all the restaurants are full, get it down to the City Ground. Watch the women play.
What better place to leave it than that very generous offer from Adam to the mothers of Nottingham. And yeah, it sounds like a great idea, actually. Yeah, it's something slightly different to do, isn't it? And to see a team that thus far are unbeaten. We've only had that one defeat in the Cup, and that was to Newcastle, who are obviously a division above. Was it Newcastle? Yeah, it was Newcastle.
Yes, yeah.
And who are a division above. So fingers crossed Forest can maintain that absolutely astonishing record. They are, just to summarise, at the top of the league, 18 games, 15 wins, 3 draws, and Wolves, as you mentioned, are 2 points behind, so they're on 46 points, 19 played, 14 wins, 4 draws, and 1 defeat. Forest, once again, we've talked about this before, have that imperious goal difference of plus 55. So if all goes well, then hopefully in another month's time, we can be looking forward to seeing another trophy being lifted at the City Ground. But in the meantime, that's the end of today's show. So I want to say a massive thank you for Adam for reporting back from that match. We'll be hearing from you as we go through the rest of those matches in the rest of the season. And thank you very much, listener, for joining us once again for another episode of 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast. You can find all of our links at 1865.football. We'll be back later in the week with our Friday 5 roundup. In the meantime, come on you Reds.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger. Because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.